Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Excuse me! Taxi!
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Rita, I understand that Pat Fallon is calling in?
Yeah, we have the great congressman from the state of Texas, Congressman Pat Fallon.
No, you can't go on until we hear the music from Texas.
All right, let's put the music from Texas on just because we love him.
The stars at night,
I love that.
are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas.
And now we can go to the great congressman from the state of Texas, Pat Fallon. Congressman, we love having you here on the show. What did you make of the State of the Union last night? You were there.
Well, Rita, thank you so much, John, for having me on. And I love that song and the fact that my two favorite countries are America and Texas. So God bless y'all.
We may want to move to that other country, I'm telling you, but go ahead.
You don't have to worry about us seceding. We might invade.
What did you make last night? What did it feel like being there at that moment?
It was incredible. It was such a great night. My head's still spinning. My heart was swollen. It was incredible. The president made some very great points. Some of them that he made very simply by the Democrats in action, and some he made just on the fact of his record. You know, listen, the unemployment rate is down to almost 4 flat. The inflation rate under Joe Biden, its high was 9%. Now it's at about 2.5%. He created 174,000 jobs, mostly private sector jobs. That's what the Democrats never told you about. When Biden's job numbers would come out, the jobs that were created were government sector jobs, which cost the taxpayer, and it doesn't fill the coffers of the Treasury. And we're seeing things. And Democrats want to talk about affordability. Well, yeah, how's it going to go up when you allow 20 million people into your country illegally that aren't contributing to the economy? They're more of a burden than they are a contributor. And it's a supply and demand issue, things they don't want to discuss.
You know, one of the things you hit a very good point, Congressman, because I thought when President Trump said he looked at them, I mean, it was really powerful. He looked at the Democrats and said, you created this crisis. And he called it sort of the great transformation. That was another word that he used to describe last night, because he said, look at what I inherited. And then he also said to the American public and the Democrats, if you guys come back in again, you're going to call for open borders all over again. I mean, that was a powerful moment.
Rita, you know what? Joe Biden, I know Texas is a border state, but Joe Biden made every state a border state. And the facts, again, bear it out. Just look at the data. We hadn't had in 25 years a month where we had 200,000 illegal border crossings. Joe Biden had 28 of those months in a row. President Trump has secured the border greater than we have seen in our lifetimes. And the murder rate and violent crime rate is down to a 120-year low. I'm talking to you right now from 38th and 8th, like the mean streets of communist Manhattan. And I'll tell you something. I would have never thought when I was a kid growing up in Pittsfield, Mass, that we would see crime go down to 120-year lows since the 19-teens. And that's what's happened because you have a law and order president that's going to keep us safe.
Well, you have a law and order president, and I understand a lot of the U.S. attorneys around, especially in New York, Judge Clayton, is the fact that if they commit a federal crime, if they commit a crime that the feds can get them on, where the local authorities are not prosecuting, they take them into place. So, I mean, I think the criminals are a little bit nervous around.
John, look what he's done when he lets the Customs and Border Patrol agents do their jobs. Look what happens when he lets the military project power and lethality and deterrence. We snagged Maduro. Nobody would have ever thought we'd do that without losing one American service member. That's incredible. That's what Pete Hegseth is doing. That's what Raising Dan Kane is doing for our country. And now let the business sector, let the private sector drive our economy. We're the strongest and greatest country history's ever known.
Now, you're in Texas. You're in Texas, and there's a cartel war going on in down the border. Are you concerned?
No, I'm more concerned. Well, the Mexican drug cartels are a huge concern. But Joe Biden was their partner. He was the greatest ally they ever had. They were making about $25 billion a year on illegal narcotics trafficking, John. And then they were making an additional $13 billion with human trafficking, human smuggling, sex trafficking. And Joe Biden wasn't doing anything. He was other than looking the other way, he did absolutely nothing. And President Trump has locked it down at the border. And, there are some, we're working with the Mexican government. They need to be held accountable because they're a narco state, and they need to put their narco-terrorists in cages.
Now, let me ask you a question. Does that mean none of us Americans should go to Mexico right now to sun ourselves in Acapulco?
100%. John, as you know, I'm on the Intelligence Committee, and not talking specifically, but in general, if you're an American, I beg you not to go to Mexico, not for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it's frightening. I'll tell you, Congressman, I'm looking at the images there with I was showing the other day a Costco on fire. You're seeing all these citizens fleeing. I've covered war zones. It looks like a war zone.
There, no doubt, there is. I mean, Americans, that's why the Democrats don't want the Americans to know what's really happening, because you would demand a secure border. I know everybody on this call does, but you would say, if Americans knew that there are states in Mexico, I mean, their name is just like us, the Estados Unidos de Mexico. I mean, the United States of Mexico. There are states where the federales won't even enter because it's too dangerous for federal law enforcement. Can you imagine the federal government, the FBI, not operating in Colorado because it was too dangerous? That's what we have on our southern border. How can you not want to secure it? How do you not want to build a fence? How do you not want to let Customs and Border do their jobs? And that's what happened for 4 years.
Judge Weinberg.
Good to talk to you again, Congressman. I think part of the problem is you have these cartels. They're well armed. They have the munitions. They're paramilitary. Sometimes they outgun the federal forces of Mexico. And for years you had political leadership, both prosecutors and judges and presidents, who play games with the cartels. Finally, you have a new president of Mexico who seems to be working with President Trump. What are your thoughts?
Exactly that. Now, everybody, we live in a very small world now, Judge, as you know, and what happened in Venezuela has ripple effect. You can see Cuba now teetering on the brink. You can see Mexico not wanting to cozy up to Cuba as much. You want to see Mexico cooperating more with the United States and with President Trump. You see that with even the leftist Colombian president. We have really put them on their heels. And I was able to go to a CODOT to Bulgaria and Romania and Spain, some of our NATO allies, and I got to tell them, look, our equipment works, theirs doesn't, not so much. And they know that, and they see that. And that's why, people, when they see us project power like that, they want to be more friendly to us. And folks that maybe were our foes might want to tamp it down and rethink their foreign policy.
Well, thank you for calling in, and take care of Texas. And you guys are gaining population like no tomorrow.
People vote with their feet, and that's why Florida, Tennessee, Texas are growing, because we believe in reasonable regulation, low taxes, and limited government. And you know what? I wish some folks here in New York, because it's a great state with some wonderful people, but got to get rid of that communist element. We need some common sense, and I hope the common sense Democrats stand up against the crazy ones. And thank you so here's
much.
Here's a good tagline. We need more common sense and less communism. How about that?
That's a great line. Congressman, that's a great line. We're going to steal it.
All right. And I'm going to leave you with chanting. We were with the USA hockey team last night, and then maybe had a beverage or two cocktail after the speech, and we're going to chant like they did.
USA! USA!
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.